To say I'm black-pilled right now, just looking at the absolute state of the country I currently reside, the United Kingdom, is an understatement. Frankly, I'm Vanta black-pilled. I couldn't get more black-pilled, none more black, if you will. You know, this pill is an OLED, John Linneman approved, pixel true black 4K pill. I mean, you get the picture. But it's got me back on a bit of a Gnosticism kick again, much to the chagrin of a recent comment I received from a Christian. He was saying that he's praying for me to overcome Gnosticism. And really, I appreciate the concern. I mean, I'm not some kind of card-carrying Gnostic occultist or something. I'm simply just fascinated by the symbolism from more of like a Jungian point of view. It's hard not to recognize the distinctly Gnostic characteristic of the modern world, of modern culture. As I mentioned in other videos, you know, this symbolism is embedded within a lot of Japanese pop culture, but also, some would argue, the modern culture of the West. I mean, even wokeism itself could be considered a form of New Age Gnosticism. I mean, the idea that a human being can be born into the wrong body and that nature itself becomes this kind of demiurgic, oppressive force to be rebelled against, you know, just like capitalism takes on the form of the demiurge, patriarchy. To view the creator of your reality itself as malevolent, as corrupted, you know, just like the lion-headed serpent, Yaldabaoth, this twisted demigod lording over a twisted realm, you know, this is kind of like the Gnostic mindset, which on some level transcends culture, transcends politics. The idea that human beings aren't born free, you know, that we're born in a state of cursed imperfection, not only to live in this fallen realm, but also to be reborn forever in this Gnostic samsara of suffering. And speaking of suffering, we're of course on the cusp of another election in the US. I see a lot of people becoming reinvested in the political cycle. And of course, I'm hoping for a Trump victory. But for me, you know, the older I get, the more I realize it is true that the purpose of a system is what it does. And, you know, again, I can't lie. I mean, I'm black-pilled about democracy in general. I'm black-pilled that this system has anything real to offer the people of the Western world other than decline management. Almost as if the entire purpose of liberalism as it exists in this post-World War II, post-Cold War, 20th century format has been one of controlled demolition. You know, I mean, you will know the tree by its fruit, and the fruit of Western liberal democracy has been overwhelmingly poisonous and gay. And, you know, I think it's no accident that modern man in the digital age is rediscovering Gnosticism, for better or worse, and embedding and expressing some of these ideas within the culture of this new age. You know, video games are a great example of this new age digital culture, not just open to Gnostic concepts and ideas, but almost embodying them, really. I mean, what is gaming? What is the act of gaming? You, as a denizen of this material prison that we're all trapped in, you are simulating your own instance of a world where you as an individual get to be a little demiurge of your own, where you get to lord over these small-scale universes, where the player becomes the ignorant, spiteful, misguided god, you know? Where you can wield power, you can change the rules of the game, you can break the game itself just for your own twisted amusement. In that how some would describe consciousness and the mind of God to be similar, in fact, potentially the same thing. That it's gamers all the way down, that gaming is just a fractal microcosm of this self-similar structure of reality, you know, God experiencing himself through human consciousness experiencing itself through the act of simulated reality in this small-scale cosmic satire. The player living and dying again and again until gnosis is achieved and the game is beaten. As if the real Dark Souls all along was simply just the Gnostic truth of our reality. And so you'll often find that trope of going to war with God, of overthrowing an illegitimate system in decline. To peer behind the veil and expose some kind of esoteric force that presents itself as good, the religious culture of Yevon from Final Fantasy X springs to mind. The demiurge takes the form of this creature Sin that exists to punish the world for worshipping machines. And don't even get me started on Shin Megami Tensei. In SMT2, the final boss is actually Yahweh, right? The Old Testament deity of the Hebrew Bible that is considered by Gnostics to be the demiurge, possibly separate from the lion-headed serpent, but maybe the same thing. Birthed by Sophia, the feminine aspect of the Godhead. Daughter of Elohim, the syzygy, the female twin of Jesus Christ. The embodiment of the Holy Spirit found within the Catholic Trinity. She's also an SMT, the series is absolutely whacked out and I love it. Perhaps it's this almost Abrahamic Buddhist quality that explains Gnosticism's profound influence on the culture of Japanese gaming. Especially in Miyazaki's oeuvre. Let's take Elden Ring as a recent example. So reality is fundamentally broken in the lore of Elden Ring, and the demiurge of this world is Queen Marika, who enforces this evil matriarchy upon the world where nothing functions, everything is just chaos and madness. Death is broken, no being can truly die. Life is just this torturous, existential, Gnostic purgatory, in that the theme is kind of tarnished greatness, tarnished gold, this metallic, alchemic theme that binds the game visually but also thematically. Echoes of Catholicism, echoes of Gnosticism, and Celtic pagan imagery. The demigods themselves are degenerate trannies. Just as the meddling tree surgeon grafts branches onto a dying oak, so too does Godric graft arms and legs onto himself in this perverse, blasphemous display. He embodies the corrupt Golden Order of Marika. The desperation, the hubris in this act of self-mutilation and of miscegenation. What a vile character. What are you trying to say, Miyazaki? Hey, wait a minute, where are you going? Well, he took off pretty quickly. I can hear his car in the fucking car park driving away. But yes, this is my media illiterate take on Elden Ring. Mikola too. This commentary on the narcissism of the trans movement and identity. The entire game is like an LSD hallucination of a post-masculine, corrupted fantasy world, shattered by the madness and the hubris of women. But really that trope of opposing like a sick, dying system and finally ending it, relieving everybody of this torturous purgatorial existence, that's like a Miyazakian theme at this point. And so, late one night, the curtains drawn, the solitary gamer, grinding out a Souls game in comfortable meditation, himself shunned by mainstream society, chews on a lot of this philosophical red meat, wondering to himself, is it the fate of all systems, all complex systems, to break, to become corrupted? Is that simply the nature of reality? That the force of entropy acting on all things will inevitably lead to their destruction, that order is only temporary, that we try and find order within this realm, even as our fragile material bodies are slowly atomized by these forces acting upon us relentlessly 24/7. And yet still we yearn for perfection. We reach out and try and grab it like catching smoke. Something about our human souls. We contain within us this echoed fragment of a memory of paradise, of Eden, that we were cast out. Just as Adam and Eve betrayed the will of God, so too did man himself eat from that tree of knowledge and gain, in his primordial form, this terrible gift of sentience. It's a gift that no other animal on this planet possesses. But it's also a curse, because for all of our machines, all of our technology, all of our intelligence, and all of our hubris, nothing can really heal that trauma, that wound of simply knowing your own fate, the way of all flesh, the way of all systems. For all of our feigned sophistication and secular wisdom that modern man possesses, we all grew up. We were all once children, and we were cast out of an Eden, cursed with this understanding of our own nature that comes after the death of one's innocence, Anything worthwhile, everything good that spawns into this realm will inevitably become corrupted. That's the tragedy of this world. That's the somewhat Gnostic reality that we find ourselves living in, that one cannot remain a child eternally. Something that is pristine can't remain untainted forever. This bitter truth that leads some men to addiction, others to insanity, others still to Christ. The nature of the world is corrupt, fractured, broken, and evil. But despite this, there is a certain divinity that lives within the heart of man, the ability to access another realm, one of perfection and eternal order, and to conceive of this spiritual world through one's own imagination, one's own mind. And through this communion, there exists the potential to draw these symbols, these ideas, this manna, out of this world of forms, this collective unconscious, this pleroma, whatever you want to call it, to draw out of the ether gold. Like alchemy, the creative process spawns into this fallen world a version of the eternal, where in his mind's eye, the master artist saw and encountered God. And then, with his primitive tools and his hands, he sculpted something that even in its magnificence only captured a fraction of the divine vision that acted as its inspiration. Such is the nature of any great work of art, or any good idea, anything good that you find in this fallen realm that we call whatever, life. You can feel it when you listen to a beautiful musical composition that moves you. Why are you moved? Why are you moved when you look up at the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel and you observe the greatness that sprang from a human mind and a human soul? Like God whispering to you, you become aware of this parallel realm where time doesn't exist and sin doesn't exist, death doesn't exist, evil doesn't exist, only love. And for those with the eyes to see and the heart to intuit, this dimension becomes a wellspring that can offer solace and that can inspire. And on the flip side, of course, denying the power of this spiritual realm leaves a man untethered and drifting throughout the chaos of the world with no anchor, unable to truly know himself, unable to perceive beauty on a personal level, unable to feel love, unable to create, unable to build, or at least unable to build anything that isn't ugly and horrifying and vile. I see this type of spiritual dysfunction everywhere these days, where the rot and the decay is fractal. You see it throughout many systems of society and of politics and industry. The civilization of the West itself, sick and diseased and dying. And people think, and I used to think, that perhaps something could be done about this, that we could turn back the clock ever so slightly. But once you start really digging in to modern history, the history of the 20th century and what came before, now you see the modern world is like a set. And the normie exists within this fucked up sitcom, this comedy of hijinks, where they think they know what they are and what the world is. But it's all just a set. A set built by our elite, who are occulted. And these elites, they don't believe in that spiritual realm I was just describing there, where God lives and where the ideas live, and beauty lives in its purest, most immaculate form. They don't believe in it at all. They only believe in themselves. Adam Kadmon, the new man, that's who they are. And unfortunately, the purpose of this system is to serve them. All of it meticulously maintained to make sure that you never, ever know what's really going on, that you're just a hamster in a wheel, blind to your own nature, blind to the nature of reality. Like vermin in the drowning rat experiment conducted by Professor Kurt Richter in the 50s. They dropped a rat into a vat of water, and of course the rat tries to keep its head above water, it struggles, and just before it gives up and drowns, they take it out and they let it rest. Then they put it back in and let it tread water for a little bit longer, and just before it gives up, they take it out and let it rest a little bit again before throwing it back in, and you repeat the process until the rat drowns. Well, compare this rat to a rat that's just simply thrown into the water and left to die. Well, that rat drowns a hell of a lot quicker than the rat that has hope. The rat that thinks it's going to be saved struggles 10 times longer. Or in our case, works that much harder for this evil, illegitimate system that doesn't even have to exist. Just like the poor rat treading water, modern man is doomed, but struggles on just that little bit harder because of a synthetic hope placed within him, not by God, but by the sons of Adam Kadmon, the custodians of a fallen material realm appointed by themselves, in rebellion against what some would call God, some would call truth. Whatever lives in that divine realm of perfection, these elites of ours hate more than anything. And you can see it when you watch something like the 2024 Olympic opening ceremony with transgender clowns dancing on a string. Or when you turn on the radio and all you hear is a mumbling, degenerate, drugged-out rapper talking about whores and racial Bolshevism. Excuse me, schizo, well, how are those things related? Of course they're related. Chuckle fuck. Nothing is a coincidence on piss earth. You know, there's a reason why truth has become offensive culturally throughout the Western world. There's a reason that they're airdropping Haitian cannibals into peaceful American rural communities. There's a reason so many of our divine and ancient archetypes are inverted and turned into poison by the various entertainment industries that we're expected to engage with, including video games, of course, because you know me, I'm a gamer. And perhaps the gamer is uniquely sensitive to all of the aforementioned pandemonium that comes with living on piss earth in 2024, because of course, things are always going to get worse. And yet, just like that poor, wretched rat treading water perpetually, you are expected to find some small hope in your right to vote. Even though nothing ever gets better, hey, at least you live in a democracy. Or at the very least, a sitcom loosely based on democracy. And the set of the sitcom itself is starting to fall away. It's just been so ill-maintained. It's such a pathetic excuse for set dressing. It's all just kind of rotting away. People can see, ever so slightly, they can see behind the scenes. They can see backstage, and it's making people freak out. They're like, what the hell? It's driving the normie completely insane. And of course, the gamer sees this and hears this and says, what the fuck did you expect? Didn't you play Metal Gear Solid 2?